Hello and welcome to another Beyond Sport podcast. I'm Mark Ellams, and again, I'm delighted to be joined by my co-host Craig Collins and Nate Foley, and we're delighted to also be joined with our guest student Ryan Ainley. And today we have a bloke who I met at university, a guy who is very much immersed in mental health, helping people out with personal training, life goals, as well as wealth of experience within natural bodybuilding. And that is Matt Norrby. Matt, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure.
So Matt, you're obviously, from Derry, you've got a wealth of experience within sport, health, lifestyle, and a lot of things, going on to try and help people. I want to find out a little bit more about your natural bodybuilding. You've been doing that for quite a while. I'll not give away your age. What led you to getting involved in bodybuilding in particular, and what kind of sports did you play growing up?
Yeah, so for me, sport was always kind of my outlet, and I knew that from a young age, mainly because concentration levels in school weren't great, and in terms of academically, I didn't really have an interest in terms of like going home and reading a book and doing my homework and all that on time. So basically for me, I was always outside playing football, and that was my outlet. And it was a great way of, obviously when you're at school as well, meeting people, engaging with, making good friends. And, I always just found a passion there. So growing up, I was always involved in football and any kind of sport that involved you in PE, whatever it may be. I was in doing it. So then, obviously, as you touched on, natural bodybuilding, that kind of came into play whenever I was kind of coming to the end of like competitive football when you're younger. It was up to like 18 or 17, and then it was obviously Sunday league and stuff. So I kind of always had the idea of wanting to do kind of bodybuilding because my dad done it. So it was almost like passed down in a way that he was quite successful doing it as well. And then I always wanted to follow in his footsteps. I didn't know obviously how well I would do at it, or in terms of how much I would enjoy it. But again, you never kind of know that until you actually just jump in head first and do it. So did the training, really enjoyed it. Kind of ended my football career doing that as well, because obviously when you put on a bit of muscle and the more muscle that you put on, you kind of get a bit slower on the football pitch as well. And you turning and agility wise, it's not really great for that. So football was kind of put into the back burner. Really pursued bodybuilding at that stage without a real kind of end goal. And as I said, that was the time whenever I transitioned to the university as well. So for me, it was kind of balancing a bit of both at that time. I wanted to compete competitively at a high level, but I also obviously had a university in the way too. So juggling those two was a challenge, but at the same time, I knew there was no point in going into competitive sport whilst putting myself under pressure at university as well. Yeah,
that's very sweet.
You obviously mentioned there about your passion, your kind of your main focus on the bodybuilding, but you kind of held a bit of success within that, and also across strongman and K1 as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so as I said, I always was training anyway in football, and then whilst at the gym as well, I kind of developed a bit of strength, mainly because probably genetically as well, from my dad and stuff too. I just found it a bit easy to put on a bit of muscle whilst doing a bit of training, also eating well. And then I just decided for a bit of focus, I would enter a competition in strongman. Really enjoyed that. Didn't do too bad in the first competition I entered, and then it kind of spiraled into getting some mates to try and join into guys that were at the gym, and it was almost like a little team there. We trained kind of once a week, strongman focused style training, and then we really pushed it and tried to be the best that we could do at that stage. So we had that going for about a year, and then the bodybuilding kind of took over because, as you know, like different sports require different type of training, so I couldn't focus entirely bodybuilding whilst doing strongman. So then I kind of transitioned into doing the bodybuilding side of things afterwards. So the very first show I've done in bodybuilding was in London, and I actually won that show. And kind of going into it, I didn't go into the fact that I was if I was going to be disappointed if I didn't win or whatever. It was a goal to take off, and obviously came out really, really well with the result. And then that led me into going, right, well, I can really pursue this and take it a step further the next time, because as you kind of progress, you go up in the categories in terms of competition levels and stuff like that too. So, but bodybuilding, like anyone who is involved in that type of realm, it's really, really difficult in terms of like you have to sacrifice a lot in terms of your lifestyle. It's really, really regimented when it comes to, eating. You have to be really strict with that. You have to be strict with sleep, make sure you're training on time. And it can be selfish in a way as well when it comes to other people that are in your life too, in terms of relationships and family. And that's what I found anyway, my experience with it. And in terms of like what you get from it, even though you might win, you might get trophies and accolades like that, you get very little in return from in terms of like the other sports. Like, football is great because it's like a team sport and there's a lot of community involved, whereas bodybuilding is really, really isolated because it's just you. And even though you won a trophy and you might have given 6 to 12 months of your life preparing for that, afterwards you can almost feel like, well, where do I go from here now? What do I do? And you know what I mean? So you cannot get that. You have to be careful when it comes to that too. And bodybuilding as well can get negative kind of raps for the drug use in it as well, in terms of steroids and stuff like that. So that's why I always went down the route of natural bodybuilding. Even probably passed down from my dad too, who always just said, well, he didn't take anything, so just train well, eat well, and you'll get results. So big positive on the side of leading a healthy lifestyle, whether it be in gym, outside of gym.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of alluded to it there a little bit in terms of like not only physically draining, but also mentally quite draining and quite lonely at times.
Yeah.
How do you kind of deal with that as you was progressing towards these tournaments and competitions? How do you deal with that kind of aspect of it?
Yeah, for me, like I actually almost enjoyed the aspect of the routine as well at the same time, where it was really demanding, it was really tough. But for me, I put myself in that environment, so I wasn't going to complain about it. It was, no one was forcing me to do it. No one was forcing me to do shows. So at the same time, I was like, well, you know what? This is what it takes. And in my eyes, my competitive level came out whenever it was like, well, each and every person who's going to be standing on stage is going through the same thing. So I'm not going to complain about it. And albeit there is times when you feel like crap, you feel like, you want to pack it in, or there's other aspects of your life that are coming into play, stressing you out and stuff like that too. So it can be challenging, but it is rewarding in essence, when you do get up on stage and you see the pictures and you go, well, that was a great achievement. I'm really happy I've done that. And it is also good for business. So if you're in the realm of fitness industry, personal training, whatever, coaching, that you can get a lot of recognition from that too, and then obviously clients from that as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Like I say, you lead by example. You're kind of that role model then, aren't you? Yeah, love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of switching focus, Matt, from your bodybuilding path to looking at sort of your educational journey. Obviously, you studied your HND in health and sport, health and management, at Northwest Regional in Northern Ireland, and then you came across to Doncaster to do your top up in sport and health sciences. Sort of what led you to do that course of study alongside like your natural bodybuilding? Because obviously you're coming from one environment to a completely different environment. Like, how did you keep what took you down the path to study first of all? But how did you keep the constant of bodybuilding?
So it's quite tough to balance everything like that, and that's why I kind of left the competitive side of bodybuilding after study. Whilst I was studying, I was always going through a phase where, like everyone in school, you kind of don't know what path to take at times, and you kind of question, well, this course is going to be beneficial or whatever. So for me, I kind of went through a year of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to coach, I knew I wanted to do personal training, but at the same time, I always wanted a little bit of support with a bit of background with study, and having a degree behind you as well is also going to be a positive. So for me, after the HND, I researched in terms of courses. I could have went to Leeds or whatever and did like a 2 or 3 year course. for me then it was almost about time as well. So I wanted to, get as much done in as little time as possible. The top-up degree was perfect for me to do that because I felt like I had enough background information for what I needed to do in terms of like a sports science degree, rather than doing an extra 2 or 3 years course on top of that as well. Because I've done the personal training course as well, it was almost like a stepping stone too. So anything that I could do to up my knowledge level in sport would involve me to actually serve a client potentially down the line a bit better too. So the top-up degree was perfect for that. And yeah, Doncaster was challenging in terms of going over there. I didn't know anyone in particular, and I just transitioned straight out from obviously the gym I was working in, and then I was over there not working as well. So that was quite tough, but at the same time, it gave me a bit of time to really focus on what I did want to do. Enjoyed the course. I enjoyed obviously the people that I met there as well. So yeah, it was all positive in the end.
Bro.
Just a quick one. While you was doing your courses at university, was you ever tempted to sway a different direction rather than bodybuilding? Because you said that you wanted to enjoy the course, and I wonder if there was any like other career pathways you might have chosen.
Yeah, like I always wanted to pursue like a career in teaching as well. So that was always in the back burner of my mind in terms of bodybuilding. Was kind of, it's really tough to make it in a sport like bodybuilding. Like, as I said, you might be successful or whatever, and you'll just get a trophy and a couple of accolades. You might be lucky enough to get a sponsorship, but again, that can be just supplements. So you're not really getting paid from doing that too. So it can be a risk factor, like any sport though. But for me, it was always a case where I would rather try do something like that first of all, and then fail, and then go into something else later down the line. But then the coaching always was hand in hand with bodybuilding. So every time I did a show, I got a lot of kind of people reaching out for like, how can I do that? I want to look like you or whatever, and look like the guys on stage. So the coaching side of things always took over, and teaching is always kind of in the background too, in terms of I looked into research how to go into that afterwards. But going into the coaching then was kind of a challenge at the start though, because you don't really learn about business whilst you're in university as well. It's more so directed at getting a job for 4 hours a week and whatever else. So that was another aspect then of coming out of university and then going into business and trying to learn all the aspects around that, self-promotion. And so it's one of them ones for me. It's always following your passions really. So doing a job that you really, really enjoy, and something that you get value from as well.
Nice one. Next question as well. How did you find college and university life by especially studying from home? So like not actually being there and, grasping it from that kind of way. Yeah.
So for me, like I found Doncaster was really different in terms of where I came from as well. It was kind of really small, and there wasn't much to do in terms of the social aspect of the nightlife and stuff like that too. Although we could go into town where we were based as well, kind of felt a bit isolated. But at the same time, there was a good group of people there, and we got on really well. The challenge for me was kind of not detaching from where you were all the time. So you went to class at the same place, and then the halls were in the same place. I'd never really experienced that before, so that was quite tough. Yeah. But at the same time, I got on well with it. You kind of adapted after being in there for about a month. You got used to everything, and really enjoyed it while I was there.
Awesome.
Just remember, like, obviously we lived together in halls, and I'd never met anybody as dedicated in terms of diet. Like, I remember we were joking on a Sunday and had like a sausage and egg bagel, and he said, "Oh, it's my treat," and for me, probably my diet wasn't great and probably still isn't, but you were just incredibly dedicated, and you said this is, look after your body and your body looks after you, and you were obviously in training at the time, and I just thought, how do you have time for all these supplements? And you were never tempted to sway away from it, and that I always thought that's something I'd really admired, that you could just stick to that. And it was fair play to you, and I know you've taken that into your business, which kind of leads into my next question. You set up your business, MJN Fit. You've kind of moved online, and again we'll touch about the online when we sort of go into it. Also, you're a qualified gym instructor, personal trainer, you're a fitness coach as well. You've got clients coming to you all the time. What's your main ethos and aims, to try and help your clients with their goals, and what's the sort of couple of things that you stand by when you meet up with clients and help them?
Yeah. So for me, like, fitness has kind of got a bad rap as well, in terms of there's a lot of people out there promoting supplements and promoting stuff that isn't really a healthy lifestyle, like those certain brands that promote you don't need to eat carbs, you don't need to eat at all, or take these shakes or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of negative raps around the fitness industry and the people who promote stuff because they get paid to do so or whatever. For me, it's all about obviously your health and fitness as a whole, in terms of not only your physical health but your mental health coupled in with that. And it should be something that you come away from educated as well. So each client that comes on board, and in my respect, I try to break down what's not working in their life. So whether it be, obviously they can't stick to a diet for whatever reason, we try to obviously find the reason behind that. And it might be stress levels because of work. What could they be doing better in that respect? What could they be doing better in the relationships in their life, the people that they surround themselves with? So there's a lot that we kind of touch on. And it's not just the fact that I'm giving them a plan of do this in the gym and speak to me next week. So we're always in constant communication to make sure that we're taking a step in the right direction. And it's almost like a fitness journey rather than an end goal. So, fitness is forever, in terms of you're never really going to be finished. Once you start a fitness journey, people think that, well, I want to do a 12-week transformation. That's fine. You could get great results in 12 weeks, but what are you going to do after that? So it's more so the educational factor, that something that you do for that period of time to get in shape, you want to sustain that forever. You want to be able to have a plan that you can stick to religiously. That's not going to be unattainable, and it's not going to, you're going to enjoy it at the same time as well, because life gets in the way at times, and we have to realize that there is a time and place for, going and having a chippy, going and having a few beers, whatever it may be.
You talked about one of your main ethos is the finding your why, and identifying why you're doing it. Can you just sort of tell us a bit more about that? So
finding your why is huge. Like that's the fact that I talked to you the other day about, Mark, in terms of any client that comes on board, the ultimate question I ask them is, right, what's your goal? And they might be like, well, I want to lose a stone. And I'm like, well, why do you want to lose a stone? Yeah, you want to look better, but you really, really go into and delve into the reason behind it. So it might be because in 20 years' time, you want to be as healthy as you can to look after your grandchildren. You want to make sure that, stuff like that really, really plays into people's pain points and their psychology based on their decision making. So, getting a set of abs for holidays isn't really a strong enough reason as to why you want to get in shape. So really, really nitpicking into how they're thinking, why they're thinking that, and getting them to realize that, a fitness journey isn't just the fact that, they want to eat healthy and look better. They really have to buy into the why. And that's a big factor and fundamental that I can instill in clients as well. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, with my generation nowadays, it's all about, looking the best. Everyone wants to look good, but then when you actually speak to them about how they want to do it or why they want to do it, like, they're not really willing to stick to a certain diet plan, not willing to train so many times a day, get the right amounts of rest because they want to go out partying as well, and they can't really balance it. Did you find that hard when you was growing up?
Yeah, and that's what Mark touched on as well. Like, for me, he said I was so disciplined in terms of I never really ate bad or whatever. But for me, I always looked at the point where I want to look a certain way, then I'm going to have to sacrifice like not eating that, or really, really maybe miss a night out with the lads because you don't want to be hungover the next day because you have to train, whatever it may be. Like, you have to weigh up your options. And I always looked at the people who were doing well. So whatever sport that you're involved in, look at the top guys, the people who are doing really successfully in that field. Like, what are they doing different than the average bloke? Well, they might be obviously really disciplined. They might be leading a lifestyle that's different to someone else who's out partying every weekend. So you kind of have to get that into your psyche that, you know, this is going to be something that I'm going to have to do, regardless of what your peers or what your friends say at times, because you can be influenced obviously by your friends as well in terms of, well, why are you going training all the time? You know, or even your partner kind of doesn't support that too. And that's why really surrounding yourself with good people and a good environment is fundamental as well in terms of the steps that you're going to make in your career.
That's brilliant. It's so true, and it's having that aspirational, you know, something to do. And I remember I watched like the class of '92. I'm going off a little bit, but they were saying about Man U and, you know, Beckham and Gary Neville. They were just so disciplined. That's just what they wanted, and that's I've got to detach myself away from partying and drinking and leading maybe a negative lifestyle to try and focus in on really what's important and what you want.
Yeah, and then that's the way society's kind of built, though, is in terms of leading a negative lifestyle, as you said, is seen as not going out drinking, partying, and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, it's just a state of mind, really. You know, people think about it that way, but for me, it didn't really bother me at all. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that, you know, I got up every morning, felt fresh, didn't feel like crap. And then there was other people who, you know, my worst nightmare was getting up feeling hungover and really sluggish and tired. And that's what I did feel when I did drink at times. So I was like, well, you know what, it's not for me. And you kind of realize that if you know, whatever sport or whatever you want to choose, there's a time and place, obviously, I said before, for having a few drinks or whatever. But whatever you put into your body affects how you look and how you feel as well.
No, it's class.
Excellent. Obviously, pandemic affected lots of businesses, and I'm sure that will have affected yourself and your running of your business. How has kind of that affected not only MJ Fit, but also your training as well? Tell us a little bit kind of about that.
Yeah, so this lockdown's been crazy in terms of the adaptability that we've had to do in terms of gym. So I've been in gym personal training for years now, and I've decided just to transition everything online, and that's been really a blessing in disguise as well, because it's really rocketed my business in terms of a lot of people's in the same situation now, working from home, and they've no excuse now not to really get in shape. You know, beforehand they really said, well, I didn't have time to eat well. Well, now you do. I didn't have time to prep my meals for the week ahead, or even do an exercise. You know, with a lot of people invested in gym equipment over this lockdown too. And for me, business-wise, I'm actually getting more from it than I did while I was working in the gym. So I spoke to Mark about it the other day, like personal training in gym, you might be there for 2 or 3 sessions a week and that's it. So with online, you're kind of almost on a daily basis keeping in touch with someone who you're working with, making sure that they're, you know, obviously doing the work that they're assigned, and also just making sure that there any roadblocks are in the way that we're addressing that straight away. So a lot of people are enjoying it more so as well. And for me, it kind of reassured that people freaked out at the start when the gyms closed, and they were like, what am I going to do? I can't really train. And a lot of people have gotten great results whilst doing minimal work in terms of gym work. So getting out in the open, going for a run, going for a cycle, doing bodyweight exercises at home. There's a lot that we can do depending on your exercise goal as well. And I find that, you know, obviously it's a really good outlet as well for people during lockdown, because of all the negative side effects that's happening. Mental health is impacted, and we can't meet up in groups and stuff like that too. So exercise is a really good outlet, and I think people are more so realizing that now as well.
Yeah, and do you find that sometimes kind of like you're more than just a PT, like you're more than just their coach? Like people might, you know, explain kind of how they're feeling and like their mental well-being and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, any kind of client that comes on board now, as I said beforehand, the onboarding process is really getting into their psychology of how they're actually thinking right now, and how that's affecting how they look and how they feel as well. So that's where we kind of go into the habit of really even journaling how, like, I get them to track their sleep, I get them to track how many or what their stress levels are on a scale of 1 to 10 each day, have their hydration levels. So there's a lot more involved in just telling people like, go and do this exercise and report back. So people kind of buy into that as well, because they realize the effects of, if they're not sleeping well, how that's going to have repercussions on their energy levels, even their tiredness, in terms of how they perceive a situation. Like they might just, their mood might be impacted by it as well. So certainly online is a bit better, because in gym, I find that, a lot of people just talk to you about their problems, but you weren't really listening, because you were like, well, we have to focus on this exercise. And more so online, what I have as well set up is like units for mindset as well. So the different little topics on what you can improve on, habit building and stuff like that too.
Well, obviously, you're a big advocate for positive mental health, Matt. What's like the number one advice you give to people, aside from like finding the why? Because I'd say that's more sort of a motivational question.
Yeah.
What's the sort of advice you give to people in terms of looking after their own mental health? And do you find that the awareness and promotion around mental health is sort of on the increase? Yeah,
for sure. And we can really see that in the last kind of few years, where it has been pushed upon us to talk about, if you're going through a rough patch or whatever, really, really just speak up about it and voice, your feelings. Because at the end of the day, I think men really struggle as well, more so to come out and actually talk about how they're feeling. Sport kind of plays a big role in that, in terms of it can provide you with a sense of purpose, and really having a sense of purpose is a fundamental in terms of, I think, how you actually lead your life. A lot of people with negative mental health kind of feel like they have no purpose, they feel lost, they have no value to add to society or whatever it may be. And sport really brings that factor out in people, where you start realizing, I do feel good doing this. They get the repercussions of looking better, feeling better, and having that kind of sense of purpose every day. Well, I'm getting up and I'm going to do this today. I have this plan, the exercise or whatever. Really gives a sense of well-being as well. And I don't think any drug that we can offer via a doctor or whatever can really replicate the positive effects that exercise has on the mind and body. And for me, that's one of the biggest things is, although you can go to a doctor and get great advice, it's really important that, we just actually look into what we can do outside of, taking tablets or whatever, and just even get out. That's why I even say to people, go for a walk, clear your head, and just take time to yourself at times, because that's what we need. And then, just even having the control, like exercise kind of gives you that discipline in life too, where we're all going to face ups and downs in life, and exercise kind of makes you be resilient to that too, because you're building up a purpose in terms of like, right, I need to get to this goal, and you're going to face roadblocks, but eventually you'll overcome that, and then that kind of gives us the ability to adapt to whatever life throws at us as well.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd just like to touch on what pieces of advice you've been given throughout your career. So obviously you've been big into your bodybuilding, you've been through university, and also like in your business life as well. What's the best piece of advice someone's given you and it's helped you?
Yeah, for me, it was always like, keep reminding yourself why you're doing this. So whatever business or whatever sport that you're doing, remind yourself, like for me, it's like I help people lead a healthier and happier lifestyle. So keep reminding yourself that you might obviously feel times when your business is struggling, or you might go through a rough patch, that this isn't worth it or whatever, but then refer back to the amount of people that you've helped, the impact, the positive impact that you've had on people as well. And again, always referencing back to why you're doing it. It's something that you enjoy, and treat everyone as well how you would like to be treated. So each client that comes on board, it's not just a money sign when someone signs up. It's someone that is going through a rough point in their life, whatever the positive thing that you can do to help that and influence that going forward. And then in business as well, like seek out mentorship. So there's a lot of obviously people out there who are doing well in whatever field it is, and a lot of people who are willing to offer advice and help and how they got there. So I don't have a problem like investing in someone who's going to better my career, someone like a health or someone like a business mentor who can kind of teach you things that you might not have known beforehand. And, there's no point struggling on your own. Again, when someone in their health and fitness wants help, they reach out to a coach. So in your business as well, if you're going through a period where you might need help, then obviously go and reach out and ask for that help too. And a big thing in business is really surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And, because at the same time, you might be in your home with your family and you're talking about business and they don't really get it, or they're not understanding what you want to do with it. And then you don't really know where to turn or who to talk to. So really, really having a good team behind you, or a good environment to, get your frustrations out, how do you deal with it and how do you move forward?
Yeah, that's sound. And in terms of, here at Club Doncaster Sports College, is something we pride ourselves on, the progression routes. And, through the gym instructor qualification that we run, through the BTEC level 3 that we run, there's various different avenues and paths you could take down in the career. And one of the things is going into personal training, life coaching, the physical PT side of it. What would you say to anybody considering, going into this field and giving it the best shot?
Yeah. Personal training is obviously a lucrative career. People look at it and think that it's easy money almost at times, but it's really not when you get into actually having to get clients. You have to get good results first and foremost with clients. So number one, you're going to have to know your stuff and care about the client as well. There's a lot of people in the industry for the wrong reasons, as we touched on before. So really make sure that it's something you want to do, it's something you're passionate about, and something that you want to have a positive influence on people going forward. Another good point would be really focus on what target market you want to go for, and find a niche maybe in the market too that maybe separates you from someone else, and not just the same as everyone too, offering the same package or the same prices, whatever. And be authentic to who you are, because people buy into you, not just the coaching side of things, because people can pick from a number of coaches out there. But so really just be authentic over your social media and what you promote. Lead by example, and don't get too caught up on obviously the negative aspects of, we're always going to go through that time in your career, your business, where it does get hard and you might struggle at times. But again, referencing back to why you're doing it, you're in this to help people, and if it's something that you really are passionate about, then I think with results you're going to make it, and you'll be fine once you do get up there. So even at the very beginning, to get your name out there, you could even offer, I'm giving away a free 12-week package, and really just sell yourself into how you can bring someone from A to B, and from that one you could get 5 or 10.
Absolutely. And again, you sort of touched on that, the getting your name out there and the advertising, and through looking at your Instagram, MJN Fit, and like you say, there's a lot of people out there trying to make money on people thinking, I want to look like such and such off Love Island, or I want to lose a stone in 3 weeks because I'm going to Iron Apple or whatever. And it's how you market it, and clearly authentic, and you clearly care about what you do.
Yeah, and that is the challenging part, is like, you have to make sure that you have a presence online, if it is going to be online coaching or whatever. So just get comfortable and get used to being in front of a camera. It's part of your job almost, and reach out to people if you don't feel comfortable, and how they've done it, how there's a lot of people out there who will offer you advice, and great advice to you at that. So if it's something that you want to invest in, like a coach who can help you with your business, do that, because it's not going to be a waste of money. It's going to be something that you can help build your brand, build your business, and help more people.
Excellent, Matt, we've nearly run out of time. It's been so good to have you on. We really appreciate you've been able to tell us about your wealth, your knowledge, your expertise, your life experience, how you get into it, the sort of bumps and things that you've faced but overcome, and now you've got a thriving business, and you're helping people just to discover their why, if it's just a be more active, or just eat a little bit better, or drink a little bit less. You know, I think it's been really nice just to hear that, you know, that purity and being able to help people. So really appreciate your time. And again,
it's a pleasure.
If you're on Instagram, you know, check out Matt's Instagram and his website, and yeah, hopefully you're inspired as well to, you know, get involved. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.